Hello, this is Jessica McKay. This video reading is for you if you or a loved one have been struggling with chronic illness. And unfortunately, this is a topic I know very well. I've struggled with digestive issues for as long as I can remember. And I know how frustrating it can be when nothing you do seems to make a difference. And it just feels like you're spinning your wheels. So that's why I'm doing this reading. And I'm using the Sacred Traveler Oracle cards by Denise Linn, because I know this is like a sacred journey that you're on. Healing is a journey. So I'm going to shuffle the cards, and while I'm doing that, go ahead and take a moment to connect inside, connect with yourself, and just ask spirit guides, or ask your higher self, which message is most appropriate for me today? Message number 1, message number 2, or message number 3? Okay. So, if you are drawn to message number 1, okay, the card that comes up is Voyage of the Heart. And it says, love flows through you and to you. When I look at this card, I really get the sense that this is about self-love. And it's so important. This is such an important piece of the healing journey, because so often I know that when I was really struggling, I wouldn't be so kind to myself. I would blame myself, and I would be really angry at my body for betraying me. And so it's easy to have those thoughts when your body is not cooperating with you, and you keep trying things and you feel like you take one step forward and then you take 8 steps back. So it's a very frustrating thing to love yourself through. And so this card is about being sweet to yourself when you're going through these challenges. And I really know how hard it is. I get it. So being sweet to yourself means not blaming yourself, being careful of what your mind says about your body. And it's also about accepting, having acceptance for what your body is going through and the symptoms that you're feeling. Now, acceptance doesn't mean liking it. You don't have to like it, and you don't have to stop trying to change it. But it means that in this moment, you have acceptance for what is occurring. And that is much more healing, that carries a more healing vibration than to resist what is occurring and to be unhappy about it. And, I really get how difficult that can be. But this is a practice that you engage in every day. It's a practice to love yourself through these difficult times. So I'm just looking at her hair, and I noticed that it looks like part of the ocean. There are some fishes there, and there's a starfish, and there's a ship that's at an angle. And the message that I get from looking at that is that healing is not a straight line. It is a process, and there are going to be some days where you feel better and other days where you feel terrible. And on the days when you feel terrible, what I'm hearing is that you have not gone backwards. You have not lost progress. You are still on your healing path. So you might find that you revisit symptoms that you had 6 months ago and you thought you were done with those. And now you're revisiting them again, and you worry, oh, does this mean I've slid backwards? I'm hearing no. You're still on your path. But it's sort of like a spiral. It's not a straight line. So the spiral, you get to the same part on that spiral. Maybe you're a level up, but you get to that part and you experience things that were bothering you from before, if that makes sense. So it's a journey, and the ebb and the flow of that journey is part of the process of healing. So you are in the right place. You're moving forward. You're always moving forward, no matter what it looks like. So this is about having a self-acceptance, loving yourself through those difficulties. Okay, so that is your homework if you gravitated to message number 1. Okay, so I'm going to shuffle, and if you're drawn to message number 2, view from above. So it says, get the big picture. And you see a woman in a hot air balloon looking down at the landscape below. When I look at this card, I'm getting a sense that the big picture for you encompasses more than maybe just the one thing you've been focusing on. And a lot of us, when we get sick, we tend to just focus on the illness and on what's going on in the body. And there's a whole other component. There's an emotional piece too. So there's a physical piece of illness and there's an emotional piece. Now, it could be that you're the kind of person that, like me, shies away from getting medical tests done and going to doctors all the time. That was my particular challenge. And so if there are tests that you have shied away from or haven't done because either you couldn't afford them or you were afraid of them, whatever it is, I'm hearing to follow that road and get those done as best you can, because that will give you a really good view of the big picture physically. It can give you the snapshot if you haven't already done that. So you may have already gotten all the testing done, gone to many, many different doctors, and gotten no real answers. And if that's the case, it's time to focus on the emotional piece of the puzzle. And for that, what you can do is think about what was going on in your life when you started to get sick. What pressures were you putting on yourself? What pressures were on you from your family members, from your spouse or your children or your parents? What things were you doing to be good for other people? How were you pressuring yourself? And to see if you can find a correlation between that kind of pressure and your symptoms. What was happening during that time? And if you can't remember that, or if this is something that's been bothering you for your entire life, think about the ebb and the flow that you go through. Some days you feel better than others. On the days when your symptoms are at their worst, was there something that just happened to upset you? Is there something that you're thinking? Is there a story that's going on in your head that's exacerbating some symptoms? So see if you can see that correlation, and that will give you a larger picture from which to see things. It'll give you a push forward. Illness, there are so many facets that come in. There's the emotional, the mental, the physical, the spiritual. There are a lot of different pieces. So that is your homework, is to take that view from above. If you've been avoiding getting tests done, go do them. Get that big picture and look at the emotions behind what's going on for you. Okay, so that is message number 2. So I'm going to shuffle. If you're drawn to message number 3, the card that comes up is Uncovering Treasure. So it says, beneath the surface lies great bounty. This is so symbolic. This is really amazing. You see the dragon, and that's like the part of you that hides things that are too dangerous to come to the surface. There may be something from childhood, something way under the surface, deep inside, that contributes to your illness. So if you were abused when you were a child, if you were made fun of or bullied, if you were in the 2nd grade and your teacher embarrassed you in front of the class and you didn't have the the opportunity to express that or let that out, and you just had to push it back down and swallow it. These are things that can and do create symptoms later in life. Even if you felt great up until the day you turned 40 and then all of a sudden symptoms manifested, it can come from this stuff that we hold energetically without even knowing we're doing it. This is unconscious. This little treasure chest is deep inside you. You may not even know that it's there. So I recommend meditation. I recommend hypnotherapy if you feel comfortable pursuing that. Hypnotherapy is a way to relax yourself so that the subconscious mind, the conscious mind, gets access to what's in the subconscious and what might be lurking there and disturbing you. So that is your homework, is to look beneath the surface if you chose that message. And you have my absolute love and support for whatever phase of this healing journey you're on. I hope that these messages were helpful to you. If they were, please let me know. I'll see you again in the next video.